Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. And today's guest is Simon Dell of Cemoh. That's CEMOH.com. It's a new kind of marketing agency based out of Australia. And they've served the SME, the small and mid-sized enterprise, small and mid-sized business market, a lot of B2B. Some great lessons to be learned about what's happening now in marketing, what resources are available to people, and this applies worldwide, and especially what insights they've learned from working with lots of companies in terms of what you should be thinking about doing this year and next as things hopefully go back to normal. How will you stand out from the crowd as everybody expects things to come back to some kind of new normal? How do you turn that into your opportunity for success? So listen closely as Simon Dell joins our podcast right now. Well, welcome, Simon, to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on here. It's an absolute pleasure.
So, Simon, just to orient our listeners, what do you do and who do you do it for?
I am the CEO of Cemoh, there on the t-shirt.
All right.
I have a whole wardrobe of these. This is the only thing I ever wear. We are Australia's only marketing staff on demand business. And I'll marketing staff on demand pretty much should really sum it up, but just for everyone's sort of benefit, we operate with marketing people in the same way that, Airbnb operates with apartments and hotel rooms and all those kind of things. So people come to us when they need a marketing person. They might only need them 1 or 2 days a week. They might need them on a short-term contract. They might need specialist skills like a graphic designer or a copywriter. And we have a big pool of those people, and we hire them back out to businesses. So I think in the US there, you call them, I think that fractional CMOs is a
Sure, that's one term, right? Virtual fractional CMO, and there's obviously all the specialists that do very discrete activities like AdWords and SEO and things like that, right?
So generally, probably the key difference for us is that it's we shied away from the virtual idea right at the start, because what we found, especially in the SME marketplace, is they want someone in their business, because that's how marketing people understand people's businesses. They want, if they're in manufacturing, they want their marketing person to be, walking along the manufacturing line. They want them to understand the processes, because that helps them market the business better. That helps them, sell the business better. So our job really is to match local people into local businesses so that they can go in there 1 or 2 days a week and actually be there, sat at a table working with the team. So that's probably the major difference from us versus something like Upwork or, Freelancer and all those kind of things.
Right. So at that point, it really is a fractional person, right? So
yes.
Right. Yeah. So that's, and I totally agree with I love like walking the shop floor to get a visceral sense of the business, so you walk through it and you realize like all the workers are downcast and depressed, or they're light up and they're excited, either one, it tells you something you can never, and frankly, the CEO or the owner would never tell you, because they may not even know. Those are challenges.
Absolutely. I was consulting for a while years ago with a dog food company, pet food company. And if you'd asked me day one how you make pet food, I'd have been like, got no idea. Absolutely no idea. A year working with them, I knew the benefits, the features. I was there in the office. I sat in the very smelly rooms while they were making this stuff. It's just people who run when you employ an agency like a marketing agency or an ad agency, they don't get that, because they're sort of separate from you. Virtual people don't get that. So that's where our whole business model was, putting people actually inside the business. And again, for our perspective, that fractional CMO sort of exists, but CMOs are very senior people. They're there to guide, strategic direction of a business. Often a lot of the people that we put in some businesses are there just to get things done. Gotcha. Help post on social media, make sure an EDM is going out, make sure blogs are being written. Sometimes more often or not, the people we're putting in are the doers, the ones that can actually get stuff done. And that's pretty, again, another key difference for us.
Now, obviously, Australia is kind of its own world now with COVID the last 2 years and so on. But within that little world, right? Not so little world. How have like putting somebody into an office, how has that been hampered, or since you kind of
No,
locked down the country, it's wide open?
No, I mean, look, obviously we've had our challenges here, but I think Australia, like every other sort of Western country, adjusted very well to that virtual, that virtual working. So even though they were people that were local, they were more often or not sometimes still working from home.
Okay.
But it meant when they could come in, they did come in.
Right.
Look, it's been a challenge, but I have to say we started launching this business in February of 2020, which was the month before it all went completely bananas.
Right.
And we actually launched the brand itself because we kind of had a 4 or 5 month run at it. And we launched the brand itself in July 2020.
Wow.
I think COVID is actually, obviously it's been terrible for a lot of businesses, but certainly for the marketing industry, a lot of people have realized that they need to do something. They can't simply rely on word of mouth, high levels of service. They need to actually market their business properly. And that's the difference between a really good business and one that's just chugging along doing the same thing every year. So it's been challenging, but it's also been quite helpful to us, actually.
Yeah, well, in a lot of like industrial categories, which is where I kind of hang out most of my time, in manufacturing, OEMs, and industrial services. They found, because of these issues, they found that like their biggest customer all of a sudden cuts back. And not having marketing, not having consistent pressure into the marketplace to let people know you're around, to let people know you're relevant, you lose a key account. A lot of these SME, SMB, that category business, they're overly customer concentrated in many cases. So you lose one or two big accounts. Maybe you don't lose them outright, but they say, listen, we have to put a halt on all POs for the next 2 quarters. To the mega corporation, that's just okay, we'll make do. We'll have to dip into our vast credit lines to manage that. But for a smaller business, that could be make or break. That could be devastating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kinds of, looking at that let's say maybe it's a small enterprise, but it's below, let's say, Fortune 500 scale businesses, right?
Yeah.
Complete departments and everything like that. So the kind of companies that would hire, that would need fractional people of any kind, are usually a little on the smaller, not tiny, but smaller side on that scale.
So our target market really breaks up into 2 clear, very, very clear categories. And we've kind of had 18 months experience sort of analyzing this now. And you'll appreciate the first category because you probably see it all over the place. The first category is businesses that don't have anybody doing their marketing, right? And we don't determine that actually on size anymore, because we used to think, it might be 10 to 50 employees, that kind of thing. Those ones, when they haven't got anybody doing their marketing, there's like one of 3 things is happening. Number one, the owner is trying to do it themselves, right? Which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, but often, certainly in your industries, they're technical people and they're not good at marketing. The second thing is that maybe the classic is the admin girl is doing it, but she's not there. She's doing admin at the same time. The third thing is that they're giving it to an agency and they're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
And they're just not getting the engagement and the result. It's amazing that those companies that don't have anyone doing their marketing, we've seen companies that are startups. So it's 1 employee, 2 employees. We had a company that was turning over 40 million Australian dollars. So what would that be? Maybe 25, 30 million USD.
Still million.
Yeah. Been running for well over a decade, had never, ever, ever had anybody in their business doing their marketing. Everything they'd got from word of mouth, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. And they'd grown successfully like that. And they came to us and said they'd gone for a pitch, and someone had said to them, the company that they were pitching to had said, can we see your value proposition? And they'd sort of sat there blankly in the room gone, no one's ever asked us for that before. And then they came to us and go, we need to write a value proposition. And we were like, you've been operating for this long, this amount of, So those kind of businesses that don't have anyone doing their marketing are huge. Mm-hmm. And often what we do is put someone in there 1 or 2 days a week to kind of steady the ship, build a strategy, start putting things in place, start implementing the basics. And that's a big marketplace. It's a huge marketplace. The other target market for us are the bigger companies that have existing marketing teams. And that marketing team is either completely snowed under, needs some help in a short-term project, needs a specialist person in there to cover off, say, copywriting, those kind of things. So we often then supplement their team. The company doesn't want the extra headcount. They might only want them for 6 months. We put them in there. Traditionally, those companies have been going out and getting freelancers or contractors, but now they know they can come to us and they can go find us someone and we'll find them someone. And probably the key thing for us with all of that is that behind us, we are still a marketing company. We're not a recruitment company. We still have all the team back at house to do all the other little bits and pieces that need to be done. Graphic designers, we have web developers, those kind of things. So people are coming to us knowing that they can get a marketing person from a marketing company as opposed to getting a marketing person from a recruitment company.
Right.
So those are the two clear target markets, and we've been really narrowed down on those now. But the first group you probably see all over the place,
No, absolutely. And you said it well. Oftentimes the reason somebody starts a very technically oriented business is they have a passion for that technical stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So they want to make the widgets, they want to make the donuts, they have a vision for how to do something differently. And they're not, they're not marketers. They're very rarely are they even salespeople. And a lot of times what I've run into is that person is telling me very proudly, we don't do any marketing. Everything's word of mouth. Very proud of that. And when you unpack it, you realize, well, yes, but it was like 2 or 3 relationships that you've had for a decade.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've grown, so you've grown. That's good. But if one of them should go south on you, you really have a problem, and you really don't have growth on purpose. You have it. It really is like if the wind goes in that direction, you grow, and that's great. And you're living a charmed life. That's a fantastic thing. But it's not. You wouldn't let any other part of your processes in your company run on just serendipity. You don't let the quality run on serendipity. You don't let your supply chain procurement run on. You don't let your hiring run on serendipity. But many, many times they let their marketing, their sales, their growth, just like, hey, it's like the winds of whatever. And it's fascinating, but it's a real thing. And you're apparently it's not any different. No.
It's the same in the world. I met years ago. I met a company that manufactured pies. Obviously, pies are very big in Australia. And they were supplying pies. They've been going around for 30, 40 years. A family-run business, heritage, but passed on from father down to son, etc., running for absolutely decades. And they had 80% of their customer base was one client. 80% of their revenue was one client. And I'd walked in there and I was like, I can't believe they got to that point. And they were completely nonplussed. They had no fear that they would lose that client.
Right.
And of course, 2 or 3 years, because it was a big service station client. 2 or 3 years later, somebody new walked into the role of the buyer at that service station business, decided to do a review, bang, they lost 80% of their business and went under, and the brand's no more. I look at that and I can't understand how people get themselves into that position. And last year, early on in Cemoh's journey, we had, I think it was probably about 20-30% of our revenue with one client. And we were, every day I was going, we can't do this. I don't want to lose that client, but we've got to find more clients so that one becomes less and less and less significant in terms of our revenue. And I think by the time that contract ended, which was, I think, December last year, they were something like down to sort of 6 or 7% of our revenue. So we took a hit, but we only took a 6% hit, and it didn't.
Right.
And that becomes a little blip in the road.
It's interesting because, the way I've coached owners on this is the way to eliminate customer concentration is not to fire your biggest, best customer.
No.
Right. it's to add to that roster. You have to start
Yeah.
working your pipeline. You have to start developing other business. So as you look out at this coming year, and this is a little bit more, a little higher level question, but thinking about in that category business you've described, which could be anywhere from a couple of million to $30-40 million size business. What do you think are some of the major marketing trends that people should be mindful to have a plan for? And I mean beyond just like things that like, oh, we have to do a TikTok or something, but like, fundamentally, what should they be thinking about? If you're a CEO listening to you right now, answering this question, what would your word be to them? Like, make sure in 2022, 2023, you're planning for X. What's X?
Easy answer for me. And it's probably not one that you see that maybe people, maybe people do say a lot. I don't know. As a CEO or as a salesperson, whatever, I think this year you've got to get yourself in front of as many people as you possibly can. And I mean face to face. And I know that's going to kind of sound weird from a COVID perspective because everything's, everything's changed and everything's shut down. One of our big platforms this year is to do more events, and events that we own, and events that we control, and places where I can meet a lot of people in a short space of time. We're going to start building our own event. We are building our own webinar series. We're doing that in partnership with a couple of other companies, but just trying to get me, my face, my team in front of as many people as we possibly can. Content's great, social media is great, EDMs, advertising, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But the cornerstone of, there's two cornerstones. One cornerstone is the events, and the other is building strategic partnerships. So tomorrow I'm going to go and have a conversation with a company that has 3,000 clients. Now we can offer something to those 3,000 clients that other company doesn't do. There's zero crossover. It's a completely complementary relationship. I need to persuade them to give me access to their 3,000 clients. If I go in there and get access to their 3,000 clients and I convert 20% of them to becoming our customers over the next 3 years, boom.
Right, boom.
My business is huge. And that's done off the back of one relationship. Now, obviously, I'm then slightly concerned that I have one relationship because, but building those partnerships, I'm not going to just build one partnership. I'm going to go and build another partnership and another partnership and another partnership. So to me, the two things I would be focusing on any business this year was be looking at partnerships, going to talk to businesses with complementary service offerings that already have a big marketplace, and say to them, what can you give them that will make it worth their while allowing them to give you access to their client base? And building those relationships. Those don't happen overnight. They take time to do, but partnerships and events, even if that event is, in your local area, get 10 other business owners to sit down and have lunch together, once a quarter, and just start sharing lessons, sharing ideas, talking about how we can work together to grow grow the business as a unit. Passing leads backwards and forwards between each other, introducing each other to other people, that kind of thing. But whether it's just a lunch or whether, we want to do something slightly more extravagant, but, we're fortunate enough to have the resources to be able to do that. Events, getting in front of as many people as you possibly can, building those partnerships, especially in the US, because to me, a business, a manufacturing business in the US, you've got 49 other states, which you're probably not operating in. You might be selling into them, but talking to other people in other states, working out how you guys can work together, building relationships. Again, doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but that's what I would be focusing on.
Yeah. And I've actually seen that in the last 6 months, a couple of clients that have done that just told their sales reps who were maybe a little desk bound and Zoom bound. And, Zoom is fantastic. It's great. We're able to do this now that would be impossible to do otherwise. but it said you got to go on road trips. You have to talk to people who have been buying from us historically. And it's not that any one meeting leads to this incredible epiphany and everybody goes, oh my goodness, I should order a lot more from you. But
Totally.
you showed up,
Yeah.
to your point. And a lot of your competitors, especially still in this, they've gone to this new mode. Maybe they don't show up. And
Yeah.
that's the big difference maker. They'll remember when the next time it comes to place that order, well, who took the time to even just see how we're doing
Yeah.
in person? That's powerful. And, again, business is still, yes, this aided by technology. There's AI buyers, AI sellers, who knows, all that stuff. That's the future. But for now, it still does matter that people actually connect, and people rather deal with people, all things being equal, that they know, like, and trust. And you can't develop that purely without some sort of relational contact. So I think that's great advice. Really good.
I think, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but this is my opinion. The CEO is the best salesperson. They are the head of the sales business development team, and they always should be. And I've seen businesses where the CEO doesn't know how to sell, and I've seen them struggle. I think the best CEOs are the ones that can stand up and get in front of a client, and within 5-10 minutes, the client's like, this person's great. We want to deal with this person. I love this customer. And if the CEO is good at doing that, and this is probably the most important thing, right? If the CEO is good at selling, and the CEO is not just as good at motivating the team behind them, but motivating their customer base as well. If the customers like the CEO, price becomes almost irrelevant, because they want to deal with that customer. They want to deal with your company. They want to deal with your company. They want to buy from you. And you can sit there and go, you like the CEO, you like the product, this is our price. Now, that to me is a really important factor. I think if the CEO is good at getting out there, it does wonders for your brand. And if the brand's growing, the prices, you can maintain a high price, you can maintain higher margins. The CEO is the best salesperson that your business should have.
Right. Who can be a better advocate and have more passion for what you're doing than if you're at the top of your business? Now, admittedly, not every CEO has the gifting, the orientation, the personality for it. Most successful ones do. That's how they built the business in the first place. And what sometimes happened is they did it for a long time, and then they got a little tired. They thought they could delegate it. And that's when I often see companies hit a plateau and say, what changed? Oh, you used to go out and talk to customers. Now you don't. That's what changed. And you're kind of frustrated, thinking, why can't the people I'm hiring who have all these resumes and stuff do it as well as I can? Because they don't walk in there with the CEO name or title on the business card, which has its own like aura around it. You're coming, you're showing up. You can actually engage at that most strategic level. And that's not something you can always find even a very talented salespeople can't always move to that level on your behalf.
And I think if the CEO is, doesn't want to go on the road trips, doesn't want to knock on the doors. And I completely understand that, because after a while, I'm not going to go start knocking on doors. That's not what, that's not how I see my role as a salesperson. But that comes back to what I said earlier about events. You've got to be a bit more creative and work out how you do this. And it feels very old school, but go and play golf with people. Go and take 10 of your best customers out to play golf. I used to work for a beer company here years, and most of those relationships were built on taking them twice a year to go and watch rugby or go and watch cricket. You can still do that. You can still be evangelical about your business across the table at lunch, and talk about business and talk about, how you help them grow and partnerships and all those kind of things. CEOs are more likely to do that, but it's the discipline of doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's saying, you know what, I've got to do that every quarter. And I've got to go and make sure maybe once a month I take 5 or 6 of my best customers out and I talk to them, because it's just going to pave the way. It's going to make it so much easier when the salespeople walk in there, that they know you have a good relationship with the boss.
But that also means, as a CEO, you have to be willing to let go of some other things.
Yeah.
That
totally.
maybe you're comfortable with because you like those other things. Because you do at some point, we at the end of the day, we all clock out at 168 hours a week. and that's if we don't sleep. So you have to commit some change to some kind of change there.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing, especially Simon, is the leverage the CEO brings and the energy they bring to those relationships is kind of a unique thing. So the word to the wise here for 2022 and beyond is get out there, get in front of people, actually really meet with people. And if you're the CEO, that you should be leading that charge. Is that
absolutely?
I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and again, I mean, I think you made a good point. Not all CEOs are built like that. Not all CEOs are have that personality that they can do that. And so what I would say in 2022 is go and invest in someone to help you, teach you to do that. And really, sometimes you've just got to think, this is an act. This is a play. I need to go in and I need to be motivated and evangelical about my business. And I can't do that all the time. You've only got to do it for a couple of hours, put on a mask, be somebody else, but, go and get someone to coach you to, coach. If you don't think you have the social skills to do that, get someone to coach you with the social skills to do that.
And you said it well too, I think, Simon, that it's not that you're going to carry a bag every day for your business. You're the CEO.
No.
But you can build your processes around creating those events, creating those moments of those inflection points where it matters most. Now, Simon, this has been a fantastic conversation. I love talking. I love global business. Hey, we're doing it right here on this podcast. So if somebody listening to you, appropriate to your market, whatever, that they think, okay, I'd like to know more about Simon, what he's doing, where should they go to learn more about you?
So the business is the web address is cemoh.com, CEMOH. Just for the people that didn't get that right at the start when we spoke about that before we started, that is the phonetic pronunciation of CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. They're often called CMOs. cemoh.com. We were very fortunate to get a 5-letter domain name.
That's awesome.
A couple of years ago. They're rare as. But if you want to talk to me directly, simon@cemoh.com, or on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much very active on LinkedIn, so come and find me there.
Fantastic. Simon Dell, thank you for taking the time to join us today and for a really exciting conversation.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of the Revenue Throughput Podcast. If you like this episode and if you like the series, make sure you subscribe below. And also, if you liked it, please do review it. When people are looking for something exciting to listen to, especially the kind of content we're bringing, which is practical insights for B2B companies, this is a place and a free resource that they can take advantage of. Let them know about it with your review. So subscribe, review, enjoy. Thanks again.